may happen sooner than we realize. So please get up and power up your camera and swap out for a fresh battery. All right, and you need I don't think we need the fresh white balance.
I did a white balance on the side.
All right, good. Power it up.
On it. Yeah. Ron, we miss you.
I want to know. Oh my god. This is so
start recording. where are you? Oh, that's right, you're introducing it. You're twice me. You've never been on this camera. I'm moving now.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare from bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
If you are able, and if you are willing, please join me in prayer to open this commencement ceremony. O most merciful and mercy-giving God, O sustainer of the heavens and the earth, O creator of life and death, O source of strength and fortitude, O giver of peace and security and healing, be present with your blessing as we commend those here today who heard and answered the calling to serve the health and well-being of their fellow man. We thank you for the blessings of life and health in a time when the frailty of human life and health has been made plain. We cherish those in our lives, family, friends, supporters, who are kept away today by distance, yet kept near by love. And we stand silent for a moment as we remember those in our lives, especially those fellow students whom death visited before this day. And as we mourn the departed, so we also honor them by celebrating with joy and gratitude. We ask you, O compassionate God, as you have granted the students here the strength and dedication to arrive at this day, so too grant that they may be and continue to be true to the noblest of their convictions, always with courage and compassion, that their hands and their minds may be a source of healing that leaves no sickness, that they may continue throughout humbly to learn and to grow, and so that they may be a blessing to their patients, to their teachers, and one day their students, to their families, to their communities, and to all the world. This we ask of you, the all-wise, the ever-living. Amen.
Please be seated. Good morning and welcome to the 47th commencement exercises of the Warren Alpert Medical School of Brown University. I do not need to tell this group that graduation is one of the most magnificent events in our academic year. I also do not need to tell you that I never expected, and I believe you never expected, to be celebrating your accomplishments this way. It is, however, the best that we can do right now, and it does not in any way diminish what you have achieved. That being said, I want to first greet and thank the families and loved ones of the graduating class, even though you cannot join us in person today. Congratulations on everything that you have done that has allowed your student to get through 4 grueling years and be on the launching pad of a wonderful, fulfilling career. You should be very proud of their accomplishments and of your own accomplishments. I also want to greet and thank the medical faculty that are here today, whether in person or virtually. You have played a major role in developing these young physicians. Without your insight, guidance, mentorship, and wisdom, they would not be where they are today. I'd also like to thank President Paxson and Chancellor Menkoff for joining us today. If this had been a traditional commencement, President Paxson and Chancellor Menkoff would not have been with us. They would have been occupied with other activities. So I guess we can at least point to 2 good things that have happened from COVID-19. To the class of 2021, we are immensely proud of you. You have worked hard, and I might add, play hard. You've done a great job, accomplished wonderful things, and you are terrific people with immense knowledge, immense compassion, and a true commitment to serve. We are thrilled that you have reached this stage in your careers. You're about to go into one of the most wonderful professions in the world. You're doing this at a time when your skills, your compassion, your vision, and your creativity are needed now more than ever. You will be entrusted with caring for the sick and the less fortunate. In addition, people will come to you for help and in the process tell you their most intimate secrets in a frank and honest manner. Take this responsibility seriously. Never waver in your commitment to improving the lives of your patients and the society and culture that they come from. Always listen to your patients because they have immense insights and they have an important story to tell. Now, every commencement speaker, whether online or in person, wants to convey a number of important messages. I am no different, and there are 4 points that I want to make today. Point number 1, remember where you came from and who helped you get there. At events like this, I cannot help but flash back to my own graduation from medical school. I was excited, my parents were excited, but probably the most exciting person in the room was my grandmother. My grandmother grew up in Greek Macedonia and was the single mother of 2 young boys. She never had a chance to go to school, let alone college or medical school. During immensely difficult times, she took my uncle and my father to the port city of Patras, where she convinced the captain of a tramp steamer to take them to New York City. When she got to Ellis Island, she realized that the majority of the island was a big hospital that was designed to detect communicable diseases. She also quickly learned that if you had anything that even remotely looked like a communicable disease, you were sent back to the old country. Unfortunately, my father had developed a rash during the steerage class voyage to New York. To deal with this, my grandmother sent my uncle through for his physical exam, which he passed with flying colors. She then gave his signed health documents to my father, gave my uncle my father's forms, hid my father under her skirt, and then sent my uncle through the line a second time. Needless to say, he was just as healthy as he had been 10 minutes earlier. She then gave these signed health documents to each child and took the children and the documents and went out into the Lower East Side of New York, where my grandmother worked in a sweatshop while my father and uncle went to school. At my graduation, the first person I saw coming down off the podium was my grandmother. I put my mortar board on her head and realized that that was as close as she was ever going to come to a graduation. She gave me a big hug and that grandma cheek pinch that only grandmas can do. And then she looked at me with tears in her eyes and she said to me, "You may be a doctor, but I'm a professor. I'm a professor of life." And you know, she was right. Without my grandmother's ingenuity, cunning, and commitment, I would not have had the opportunities that I have had. And each and every one of you have a similar story of people who gave their all to allow you to succeed. You need to honor these people by thanking them. Importantly, you also need to thank them by passing this wonderful commitment forward to the next generation. The next point that I want to make is that you need to go out and find your passion. Many of you may think that with 4 years of medical school under your belts, that your days of heavy lifting are over. Unfortunately, that's not true. When you become interns and residents, you will start a treadmill of scientific, experiential, personal, and interpersonal learning. You will have immensely varied opportunities no matter what field you go into. The trick over the next few years is to find out what makes you happy and what makes you feel complete. You need to get yourself in a position where when you wake up in the morning and you come downstairs and you're about to go outside and do X, whatever X is, for the next 8, 10, or 12 hours, it puts a smile on your face. If it puts a smile on your face, you've used your time in medical school and your time after medical school in an optimal manner. Point 3 is that it is essential for you to work to make medicine better. I strongly believe that it is the obligation of every physician to improve the care that we provide to future generations of caregivers and patients, and to find treatments and treatment systems that work better than the ones that we have today. At graduations such as these, I frequently flash back to a patient that I had as an intern named Nick D'Alessandroni, who died of pulmonary fibrosis. Telling him that he had a disease with no known cause, no known treatment, that was going to kill him was an immensely difficult process. Watching him not respond to the ineffective therapies we had at the time, including treatments like Cytoxan, Imuran, and penicillamine, and eventually suffocate and die, changed me forever. I took Nick's death as a challenge, and I've spent a good bit of my professional life trying to understand and develop new treatments for this and other diseases. Simultaneously, many others are working to improve operational approaches and cost efficiency and patient access for these and other untreatable disorders. I am sure you can thus understand why many of us had tears in our eyes a few years ago when the first drugs for IPF were approved by the FDA. I'm also sure you can understand how happy my research team was when anti-IL-13, which was based on our discoveries, was shown to work in human asthma. The fourth and last point that I want to make is to constantly seek the truth and critically evaluate what you are told. I do not need to tell you that the truth needs to be the cornerstone of all of your patient and professional interactions. However, you're also going to find out that even with the truth, you do not always get popular buy-in. If you find yourself in these circumstances, I want you to think of the life of Ignaz Semmelweis. Dr. Semmelweis in the 1840s realized that what was called puerperal fever at the time, which was very common in the obstetric wards in Europe and had a 35% mortality, could be markedly diminished by simple hand washing with a chlorinated lime solution. He had no idea why what he was seeing was what he was seeing, but he knew that it was a very important finding. However, rather than being hailed as a hero, he was the brunt of vicious criticism from self-righteous physicians who thought that they were immune to any criticism. You may be wondering why I'm telling you such a sad story. It's because of the legacy of Dr. Semmelweis. Not only was his contention subsequently confirmed, it served as the basis for the germ theory promulgated by Louis Pasteur and Joseph Lister that was the forerunner of modern infectious diseases. Thus, Dr. Semmelweis has contributed to the health and welfare of millions of people. I'm also telling you this story because we have all recently seen another amazing example of selflessness. I do not have to tell this group about the worldwide impact of SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19. What you may or may not know is that the first person to appreciate and talk publicly about a funny form of pneumonia in Wuhan, China, was a young ophthalmologist named Li Wen Liang. Like Semmelweis, he was not hailed as a hero. He was instead reprimanded and ostracized. He paid the ultimate price for caring for these patients, eventually dying from COVID-19 pneumonia. However, without his medical knowledge, clinical acumen, bravery, and willingness to speak up and alert the world, the pandemic that we have experienced would have been even worse than what we have all just gone through. When I first came to Brown, one of the things I was asked by alumni and others was, what are the main points you want to convey to our students? Here's my answer. We owe our patients the best care that we can provide. We also owe it to future generations to make our modes of care more efficient and open, and to develop, ameliorate, and even, prevent and cure presently untreatable diseases. So I want to end this presentation by challenging each and every one of you. I want each and every one of you to figure out how to improve how we handle at least one disease during the course of your career. Exactly what kind of contribution will depend on your passion. It can take place in the clinic, it can take place at the bench, it can take place at the computer terminal. It can also take place as a passionate, dedicated physician who listens intensely to their patients and as a result hears and understands something that no one else has appreciated previously. Imagine how great the world would be if every Brown student did that, and I'm sure you will. Imagine where we would be years from now if every medical student made this a tenet of their medical career. So in closing, congratulations once again to the graduates, your families and loved ones, and your professors and the staff who have worked with you. Go forth and do great things. However, remember while you're on your life's journey that you will always be part of the Brown and the Alpert Medical School family, and we will always be there for you. Now go out and celebrate. You have earned it. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is John, and I'm a fourth-year medical student, for now. Thank you. Thank you for joining us to celebrate the accomplishments of this remarkable class. To the folks in the room, it has been a joy to learn both from and with you these last 4 years. And to everyone tuning in from elsewhere, I want to thank you for your boundless love and support that's brought us all to this point. Today, I'm honored to introduce the address of our chosen faculty speaker and one of my mentors, Dr. Colin Harrington. Unfortunately, Dr. Harrington's unable to join us in person today, but he is humbled that we as a class chose him to deliver these remarks, and he has recorded them for us to view. Now, I first met Dr. Harrington during my 3rd year here at Brown, when I spent a month under his charge on the Consultation Liaison Psychiatry Service at Rhode Island Hospital. I soon saw that Dr. Harrington's commitment to and gift for teaching went beyond the clear explanation of topics or the preparation of engaging lectures. He probed my strengths and my weaknesses as a learner, and he sought to understand my values as a person and as an aspiring clinician. His stalwart example of compassionate and dogged patient care, his collegiality in his interactions with his colleagues, and attention to the education of residents and medical students helped me to conceptualize myself as a future physician and not just as a student. I will not soon forget that transformational month with Dr. Harrington, and I know that his ongoing teaching, mentorship, and friendship, which I hope will continue despite my decision not to pursue psychiatry, will help me become the best doctor that I can be. Now, for this introduction, I admit that I had to turn to the internet to fill out some of the details of Dr. Harrington's biography and his accomplishments, as he is far too humble to have volunteered this information himself. Dr. Harrington completed a transitional internship at the Naval Hospital in Portsmouth, Virginia, before serving as a general medical officer in the United States Navy for 3 years. He then trained for an additional year in internal medicine at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill before coming to Brown to complete both a residency in psychiatry and a fellowship in behavioral neurology and neuropsychiatry. He is a distinguished fellow of the American Psychiatric Association and a fellow of both the Academy of Consultation Liaison Psychiatry and the American Neuropsychiatric Association, where he is currently serving a 2-year term as counselor. Most importantly, he's a committed clinician to his patients and a tireless clerkship director and mentor to the medical students here at Brown. Please enjoy Dr. Harrington's remarks. Thank you.
Good morning to you all. What a treat to be here with you today. I'm so sorry I can't be live to see you all gathered together to give you a masked elbow or fist bump. and to see you laugh at my jokes. I'll get back to the reason for my absence towards the tail end of my remarks. First off, congratulations to all of you for this truly remarkable achievement of your graduation from medical school, from the Alpert Medical School of Brown University. Secondly, thank you for this lovely, lovely invitation to join you on this special day, your special day. I am truly flattered to be here and to be able to participate in your graduation ceremony. This is terrific. You should be proud. I know that Brown, all of administration, your teachers, your friends, and your families are immensely proud of and happy for you. Well done. It dawned on me when contemplating what I might speak about that at my age, I should be navigating the Ericksonian developmental stage of generativity, where I should be accruing wisdom and using that wisdom to reach down and engage the care, growth, and success of the next generation. I love that idea and hope to do my very best in that all-important work. I realize also that I am still working on that wisdom thing. I thought as well that I might speak to the notion of clinical pearls, but that's been done and is certainly too narrow for this occasion. Never mind that I don't think I've reached the clinical mountaintop. Does anyone? Or achieved enlightenment? So I opted for something more modest still. I have, amongst other things, I hope, experience as a clinician and as a teacher. And experience, a good and sometimes difficult teacher, is worth exploring. So I thought I could speak from experience and share some observations and related suggestions, clinical and otherwise, that might help carry you forward happily, healthily, and successfully. And I will do so briefly, as I know that I and others stand between you and your diplomas and hugs from your loved ones. And I hope not to be preachy, but simple, direct, and from the heart. So, notes from the floors, insights, observations, and suggestions from my newest colleagues. To begin, let's frame. Delirium is an acute form of encephalopathy as opposed to chronic progressive or chronic static forms of encephalopathy. Whoops, hang on here, wrong talk. Let's try again. A top 10 list of sorts, though I have 12 points to consider. Number one, first and foremost, remember what got you here. A love of science, an altruistic and inclusive view of the world, a wish to do good for your fellow person, your fellow human being, and for your communities, local and global. Let this be your compass. Number two, let beneficence be the rule. No more Oskies. Dive in. Be genuine. Bring your genuine self. Be kind. Be humble. Be earnest. If this work doesn't keep you humble, nothing will. And be confident. Avoid hubris, but be confident. It's hard work being a doctor. There's nothing like it. Our decisions are weighty. Our patients and their families are suffering and anxious, sometimes angry and undone. Keep a level head and be guided by beneficence. Beneficence has the power to disarm. It will never fail you. Number three, be available, be present, slow down, and take time. This is far from easy. Indeed, it's flat out hard. I know, especially when everybody's looking to you for answers and orders, when your 7 inboxes are lighting up. And yeah, there are at least 7. I've counted them. Phone, text, pager, emails, plural, Epic in-basket, secure chat, and snail mail. The cards are often stacked against you. Time is precious. Time is short. Things happen. Illness doesn't wait or punch the clock. Plaques rupture. Vessel walls are breached. Bacteria multiply. Toxins are elaborated, and sepsis overwhelms. But take time when you can. During a slower time of the day, or on a slower day. Take the extra minute to consider your patient's situation and plight. Join them, guide them, educate, explain, reassure. Bring all your science to bear, and bring yourself too. Your patients and their families will invariably appreciate it and be better for it. You'll be better for it. Better informed, better connected, more insightful regarding diagnosis and treatment. Enriched. Your kindness, time, and presence can make a huge difference. You, they complement our science. You, they can sustain when our best science fails. As Abraham Verghese's young Dr. Stone answers his father's, the elder Dr. Stone's, question from the back of the room in a surgical conference, what treatment in an emergency is administered by ear? Words of comfort. Number 4, teach like your hair's on fire. Doctor, as we know, comes from the Latin word for teacher. Teaching is a part of the work. It's actually a really fun part of the work. Teach your students, peers, attendings. Teach your patients. With teaching and education comes knowledge. With knowledge comes the ability to understand, to reason, and to navigate. With knowledge comes a sense of control. With a sense of control comes greater ease in the face of dis-ease. Knowledge empowers too. And with equally empowered parts of the doctor-patient relationship comes mutually engaged and productive work and optimal shared decision-making. Isn't that the idea? Number 5, sleep when you can. I'm sorry to be so pragmatic, but this did make my short list. Some nights you can't sleep because you're on call. Some nights you won't sleep because you're anxious, worried about your patients. Some nights you won't sleep because your child won't let you sleep. Sleep when you can. Number 6, keep your eye on the clinical ball. Pause and be true to your clinical focus. As your careers grow and evolve, you will take on more and more duties. You will explore and have more opportunities. You will take on more obligations and play more roles. It's great. It's a load of fun. It's a chance to make change. And remember the end game, patients and patient care. So when these schedules conflict and you're harried, pause again and ask if your clinical work is being shortchanged. Get back to the bedside when necessary. Sit, scratch your head, ask, review, explore with your teammates. Avoid anchoring of all kinds. To those of you who will be pursuing research, administration, public policy, we know you have the patient and patient care in your sights as well. Help show us the way. Number 7, be an agent of change. Grab the reins of Obamacare and don't let them or it slip away, no matter what. Use the EMR for all of its remarkable power and potential, and work to make sure that you and your peers are not enslaved by its documentation requirements. Less typing, more time with patients. Push back when it makes sense. Usher it forward thoughtfully. And make sure telemedicine is here to stay. We've had the ability to engage this technology for 15 years. We flipped a switch and deployed it with ease in the face of COVID. It's powerful. It brings ill, fragile, marginalized, and disadvantaged patients who cannot physically make it to the clinic back to the doctor. Don't let anyone walk it back. Number 8, practice translational medicine and insert yourself into the treatment. Our science is flat out beautiful. I could not get enough of it in college as a biology major. I taught high school biology after college and could not have had more fun exploring the natural world with my students. The first 2 years of medical school were hard work, but the material a sheer wonder to me. We have incredible tools at our hands. Translational medicine, molecular biology, immune therapies, checkpoint inhibitors, crazy new imaging modalities, fantastically supported and cultivated here at Brown under the leadership of Dean Elias. From the lab to the clinic, in the form of new therapies. What could be better? I'm suggesting that translational medicine speaks as well to your role in translating science to your patients, to their families, and to your communities. Translating that science to the bedside is crucial, and it's your job. You may literally need to translate it. You will always need to be present to optimize communication. Explain, diagram, rejoice in the beauty of anatomy, physiology, remarkable new therapies. Give your patient and their families a glimpse of the same, of what you know, of what you rejoice in, as you forge a path forward together. Seek to gain their trust and understanding. This, too, is a pillar of shared decision-making. Number 9, bring a balance to the old and the new. Learn from your teachers. Teach your teachers. Learn from your peers. Teach your peers. Embrace the evidence base. You're all incredibly smart, talented, and accomplished. That's a given. So, how to move forward most effectively with all of your talents, with all of your knowledge? I suggest we remember that medicine is a team sport. Collaborate. Be a good teammate. Argue and disagree respectively, respectfully. Dig in with your attendings. Take advantage of their experience. Ask questions. Refine your thinking and practice. Engage them thoughtfully. And reach down and pull the next generation up. Right the ship where it needs righting. Retain the good. Update what needs updating. Number 10, be aware of your blind spots and deficiencies. Do what you do well and do it often. Work to improve what you do less well. I think I grow even more aware of my flaws and deficiencies as I get older. This sometimes frustrates me. At other times, though, I'm reminded that this is good, really good, that it keeps me vigilant, on my toes, grounded. Science, discovery, and medicine are moving so fast, it's nigh impossible to keep up. So ask a friend, ask your attendings, ask your senior residents. Ask. Number 11, stay in your lane, but don't stay in your lane. Read within your specialty. Know and live your subject. Become an expert. But read the New England Journal of Medicine, Lancet, and JAMA too, general journals. Know and learn what your colleagues do. Learn what their day is like, what they contend with, what vexes them. They're your classmates. They're now your colleagues. They're your chums. You need them. They need you. You need each other. Stay abreast of the science, discovery, and sociocultural issues that are part of our work and mission. And read for pleasure. When the weight and gravity of your work and of your eyelids allows, be lifted by the words and art of others. Let them and it inspire you when you're exhausted and have nothing left in the tank. I'm halfway through too many things on my bedside table. Lately, I keep coming back to Obama's memoirs of his first term, to be refreshed by him and his courage and his leadership. The only problem, that I'm too fired up to sleep. Find your heroes, learn about them, learn from them, learn about their strengths and their doubts and their deficiencies. Let their work, ideas, and words carry you forward, provide perspective, lighten your load, and ease your journey. Lastly, but importantly, give yourself a break. Feel your emotions. It's okay. Titrate them genuinely and honestly into your work. And practice self-care. My generation had none of this, did none of this. It wasn't part of our curriculum. Some in my generation poke fun at it. But make no mistake, it's crucial. Physician, heal thyself. Find a balance. Note the uniqueness of your work and duties. When you're on, you're on. Be fully present. We need you there. You will be your current attendings and teachers' doctors. You will be doctor to your parents' generation and to their neighbors. And you will be parents and partners and coaches and so many things to so many others. And you will need to be healthy and well to play all of these roles, personal and professional. So take care of yourselves. When you're off, you're off. Go on vacation. Turn off your pager. Don't check your email or inboxes. Go. Get lost. Give yourself a break. I'm not here today because part of my balance included reconnecting with my family as we navigate life, work, families, COVID, and vaccinations. We traveled this week of your graduation to Vermont, into the Adirondacks and its 46 peaks, to poke around and see if we might find a tract of land where my 4 siblings and I and all of our kids might gather together in the years to come. We've been thinking about this for a long time. Pipe dream? Maybe. Maybe not. And while I hate to miss your graduation, I thought that this was important. Part of my self-care, perhaps. Keep your friends and families nearby. Do your best to take care of each other, your families, friends, classmates, colleagues, and peers. We've lost one of our own here at AMS this past year. Let's keep the memory and honor the graduation of wonderful, kind, and vibrant Jack Rudell. And so, to close, I promised I would be brief. You will all be off to the races soon. To internships, residencies, research labs, and transitional years, to hospitals and to universities, to new cities and states, some closer to home, some more distant. Whatever or wherever it is, it all starts with this momentous occasion of graduation from medical school. And for that, I wish you all hearty congratulations. Go out, work hard, be well, take care of your patients, take care of yourselves, take care of your friends and families, look out for each other, do great things, help to make us all better. Good luck, and the very best to all of you.
Good morning, everyone. As a lot of you may know, my name is Sydney Tan, and I have the honor of introducing our commencement speaker, Jason Siklis. I initially laughed when asked to do this because, as his partner through the majority of medical school, I have quite a few choice words for him. Many in our class refer to Jason as the Renaissance man, someone who has an inexhaustible fund of skills and knowledge that it feels like he has lived decades more than the rest of us. Jason's very full life before medical school includes graduating as an art major from Bates with 4 years on the varsity singing team, conducting cancer research at Dana-Farber, serving in the Peace Corps in Burkina Faso, receiving a master's in international agricultural development from UC Davis, establishing an education nonprofit, and working on an oyster farm, all before his journey into medicine. In medical school, he impressed us all with his ability to marry academic accolades with personal ones. going to Bangladesh to conduct research in the Rohingya refugee population. The same summer, he composed choral pieces for a friend's album with the Brown Choir. Starting a preclinical elective on studio art for medical practitioners, while restoring vintage bicycles and building coffee tables from the tree he found on the side of the road. Leading student groups such as Physicians for Human Rights, as he led hiking and fly fishing trips around New England, and being inducted into the Gold Humanism Honor Society while brewing liquid gold with his medical-themed Thoracic Park Brewing Company. The list is endless. At the heart of all that he does, Jason pays attention to the people, places, and things that are most often overlooked. He will be bringing his many talents to the University of Wisconsin for residency, where he will without a doubt become a great pediatrician. Everyone, Jason Siklis.
I was sitting there saying, "Don't let them see you cry." Thank you, Sydney. Go Badgers. It's truly a great honor to speak with you today, and I acknowledge that we're able to do this as we sit on the borrowed lands of the Wampanoag and Narragansett people. We also have benefited from a university that itself benefited both directly and indirectly from the transatlantic slave trade, whose ancestors have not been compensated. We should be mindful of the past and commit ourselves to anti-racism as we discuss the future. Before we begin, I would also like to pause for a brief moment of silence. This has been a difficult year for us all, and I hope we can take a personal moment to reflect on those who cannot be here, those close to you whom you may have lost, or those you wish you would have known. Thank you. And welcome to your last required lecture of medical school. And welcome to all the faculty and staff who made this possible. Dr. Elias, thank you for your relentless commitment to our school. With you at the helm, we have ushered in new paradigms in research and clinical education that have benefited not just our medical school community, but researchers and physicians across the Brown network. Dr. Tunkel, we desperately wish you were here with us today. You've been such a steady hand during a tumultuous 4 years. You've seen us through great challenges, and you treated us with understanding, respect, and compassion. You did this all while weathering your own storms. We have not been an easy charge for you. This we know. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Dr. Warrior, you've been alongside us during the whole medical school endeavor. Your work, along with your predecessor, Dr. George, has advanced our curriculum in revolutionary ways. Your tireless advocacy for students has also propelled us through uncertain times. You're indispensable, and we wish you nothing but success in your new role. Dr. Vries, you have been omnipresent in our class's clinical years and our steps towards residency. You were instrumental in seeing that we met our goals, and you're invaluable in providing us the support we asked for and the support we did not know we needed. In addition, your predecessor, Jordan White, deserves warm mention as she was integral in that deanship. Her scheduled walks and open door were greatly appreciated. Dr. Domenko, or should I say Luba, I could not think of a better person to welcome us to AMS. You cared for our education. Your joyful approach to teaching and mentorship has left reverberations throughout our community, and we wish you well in your retirement. Jeff Cooley, Julie Noguchi, Drs. Rugas and Alicio, and all the staff of clinical skills education and doctoring, including the IT department, thank you for building us into the almost doctors you see today. Through your program, your seemingly never-ending OSCEs, our exams, our shelf exams, even our board exams, which included your troubleshooting of malfunctioning devices, we are stronger as a result of your dedication to us. Alex Meringue and Kelly Whalen, Are you sure you're not licensed therapist? I don't, I really don't know what to say. Your commitment, your continued, your commitment to our training and residency, your enthusiasm, your conscientiousness, your obvious zeal for our futures were invaluable to us as we navigated the residency process. So regardless of the outcome, we thank you and owe you a debt of gratitude. I have not mentioned everybody here, but to all in the medical school, we recognize that we did not accomplish this feat alone. Everyone in the Office of Medical Education, Student Affairs, Admissions, Marcy Walsh, I'm looking at you, and every other corner of the medical school, thank you for your tireless efforts for keeping us on track. To security and the incredible custodial staff, thank you for keeping us safe and healthy. Thank you for the late night chats and the heads up on where to find free food. It is impossible to imagine the medical school without all of you. I would next like to welcome friends and family who are tuning in not just across the country, but all over the world. Thank you for truly everything. As I mentioned, we did not achieve this alone. Your support has been essential to us. And it is not always easy to support someone who is taking on a Leviathan task like medical school. We recognize this challenge, and we are grateful for your faith in us. While we would love for you to be here with us in this underground bunker in an undisclosed location, we know that staying safe is of the utmost importance. Your presence here while virtual is only further indication of your dedication to us, and we can only hope to one day live up to your example. Now, the class of 2021. This day has been a long time coming. I remember our first day. The medical school atrium was filled with nervous laughter. MD20 Fun was born, or MD20 Ron, or I believe our group me is now called Aries season. Today, hopefully our laughter is a little more buoyant and a little more at ease. Over 4 years, we have settled into our own community. We've experienced joy and hardship, elation and pain. We have seen friendships blossom and develop. We have seen marriages and new babies and new pets brought into our family. We have seen relationships bloom. We've lost loved ones and we've passed milestones together. We said goodbye to those who left our class to pursue research or time with families, and we welcome those who came in after time away. Moreover, we have grown together. While the years of medical school have a tendency to pass quickly, they pass heavily. We have all flourished and transformed as we approach this day, so I only hope we can look around at one another and be satisfied that we arrived here together. I come to you today as what some might call a career changer. I'm not sure if Sydney made that clear. I know it was a little ambiguous. But unlike the students for the program for liberal medical education, and I will not admit how long it took me to look up what PLEME stands for, I did not know at 17 that I wanted to be a doctor. It took me 8 years after graduate college to come to Brown's doors and continue this amazing journey. Actually, as an aside, when I applied to college initially, Brown rejected me. So all is forgiven. But I cannot offer any rare or privileged insights unless it's the best place for dumpster diving or how to get the best deal on Craigslist. All I can offer is to portray our world as I see it and to hopefully give us a little push as we make it our own. And so when preparing this speech, I tried to ask myself a very simple, very esoteric, very self-serving question. What defines medicine in its complete form? In effect, what did we learn to do these past 4 years? We know that medicine is more than simply solving a problem or checking a box or answering a multiple choice question. We know it contains science and deductive reasoning. But as I thought more, it became obvious that woven through this tapestry, medicine encompasses it all. An understanding and appreciation of humanity, joy and humor, vulnerability, grief, advocacy, and righteousness. And that itself, I believe, is the genesis of art. If we want to succeed in mastering this profession, we must be scholars of it all. We must dedicate ourselves to appreciating, understanding, and probing every component of healing. We must be scholars of the human condition. As we align ourselves with an understanding of the human condition, we should be aware of what exactly it is. And there lies the problem, because there really is no one definition. How can we actually comprehend the totality of the experience of being human and simultaneously reconcile our roles as stewards of it? It will certainly be essential for us to distill a human being and their ailments down in order to understand them and treat them with the greatest sense of humanity. As I see it, the human condition in the medical context is simply composed of the person before you, if you can call that simple. It includes their medical needs, their fears, their triumphs, their power, their hopes, and their desires, all informing each other as a tangled web. We physicians owe it to that patient, not just to be well-versed in their pathology or the disease course. Of course, patients need this from us as well. They will need competent doctors, and there's no substitute for clinical and medical knowledge. But I argue that competency does not end at the diagnosis or the interpretation of BMP or CBC, as I'm sure you all would agree. And those are lab tests for the non-medical people watching today. It requires an emotional proficiency, a readiness to recognize nonverbal cues, a restful compassion, the fortitude to decide when to pull back on treatment, or the strength to make a tough call and to live with that decision. In essence, scholarship of the human condition implies not only the grasp of physiology, pathology, and anatomy, but the fluid understanding of personhood. We have begun this process. In our first 2 years, we were taught trauma-informed care. We practiced taking uncomfortable histories. We practiced giving bad news. We then lived that experience and were forced to reckon with its effects on our psyches. We felt ourselves come alive when we connected with patients in our care, and we started to find our clinical voices buried under the rubble of the Step 1 clinical or Step 1 board exam. Yet we also had end-of-life conversations, dealt with child abuse cases. We helped treat people who reminded us of our own family members. Some of us had to care for patients who did not respect them in that role. Through it all, we developed the intuition to anticipate problems. We sought the right words to ask the right questions, and we turned our ears towards answers we did not want to hear. We saw disparities in care. We saw how race, gender, sexual orientation, and housing status affected both access to and quality of care received. This is the human condition in all of its messiness, and we've just begun our understanding of it. But how do we derive art from this? Because we often hear the term the art of medicine, as it seems to represent the intangible components of our work as physicians. These components are obviously vital, yet the art component of medicine often seems to be used as a stand-in for the less concrete elements of our contract. We too often imply that being a good listener and being compassionate are what define the art of medicine, and stop short of grasping for what truly engenders artistry in our efforts. So, when and how does what we do become art? Or more specifically, how do we achieve artistry in our work? I tend to believe that artistry emerges when our endeavors transcend rote study, when what we offer the world comes from both what we have learned and did not have to learn. Achieving artistry is about our attitude towards our work and a stance on our actions. As we reflect on how to provide care that addresses the human condition as a whole, we will find that artistry in this pursuit is about using our talents and ingenuity and combining them with passion to leave the world better and more beautiful than it was before. Our art as physicians is at once a reflection of our world and values, a comment on what we experience, and an intervention into that domain. The artistry applied to this work intuits an aspect that is unattainable by traditional education, a personal spark that elevates our efforts to the sublime. When we produce art in our work, we sacrifice our own ego, our personal observing eye, as we inch towards selflessness. In the end, artistry is what separates what we feel obligated to do from what we love to do. It is far more than listening to the words left unsaid in a clinical encounter, coordinating complex care for someone in need, or holding a patient's hand as they slip from more mortal constraints. The art of medicine is, of course, those things, but it is also our internal glimmer for our mission, our abandonment of pretense, and our sacrifice to our cause that raises aloft our pursuit of healing. As public servants, our patients deserve no less than this form of scholarship. We've seen too many examples of physicians without a drive to attain such artistry, those who are competent but did not care. Conversely, we as medical students have at times lived the excruciating reality of being caring, but lacking the attained knowledge to follow through and light our internal spark. Our profession demands all aspects to the self and the patient. This is quite a task. Be competent doctors, develop a deep understanding of the human condition, and maintain that inherent drive that transforms our work into the divine. That seems impossible, and to an extent it is, because this will be a sacrifice. Naturally, with artistry in our work, with us donning the robes of public service, sacrifice will be a sober reality. To devote our lives to healing necessitates it. I believe we should embrace this sacrifice, for coming to terms with it will allow us to define it. We will lose sleep. Distance will grow in some of our relationships, possibly with friends and family. We will miss important moments. We will be forced to ask for forgiveness. This is all normal in moderation. We must accept these painful realities and find way to derive joy from time donated to our careers from other aspects of our lives. Of course, this does not mean we should lose ourselves in our profession. To do so would threaten our ability to create our art, with our patients eventually shouldering the burden when our spark is extinguished. Let us set clear boundaries for the sacrifices we are willing to make, and which would be a bridge too far. Those margins will differ by person, but their purpose will be the same. We must be able to clearly define when too much of ourselves is lost to the process. So let us not immediately confuse being tired, being frustrated, being angry, or being overwhelmed with being burned out. Recall that internal spark, that inherent artistry imbued in our work. Creating a balance between sacrifice and self-preservation will allow us to maintain our own humanity as we strive to sustain the humanity of others. This being our last required lecture, it's fitting to point out that we as a class are not whole in the same sense as our first required lecture. Along the way, members of our class stepped away for a variety of reasons. Some took time to pursue their research, aiming to return with a greater perspective on their roles in their chosen fields. Some left to pursue degrees in public health, global health, and business, working to become better physician advocates for their communities. Some took time away to be with family or the children they brought into the world. One of our own is writing the next great novel. Others left simply because their passions resided outside of medicine. All should be lauded for their thoughtfulness and boldness to pursue what drives them. And of course, our community is no stranger to tragedy. Ashton Galligan and Jack Riddell cannot be here today, though we are honored to be joined virtually by their families. With the awarding of their posthumous medical doctorates, we could not be prouder to share ours with theirs today. Their memories and the marks on all of our character will forever be with us, as I'm certain a little piece of Ashling and Jack will be leaving with each one of us today. While the world will sadly never know their artistry as physicians directly, their time with us has and will continue to motivate all of us in our practice. And that will be their contribution to medicine. The inspiration of 119 young doctors fanning out to pass on their gifts of dedication, generosity, and compassion. We remember Ashling as a stunningly intelligent person with a warm heart. She was effortlessly cool under pressure, and I would know because she was in my second year doctoring group, and we had a very difficult group. She was unfailingly kind and was perennially invested in those around her. She was passionate about her tuberculosis research in Eastern Europe, forging many connections across the world. About a week before she passed, I sent her an email to check in and say hello and let her know I was thinking about her. In her reply, she mentioned her wonderful family and friends, and also that she hoped my third year was going well. The fact that in those moments, she could find the compassion to give a damn about my third year experience is a remarkable testament to her character. But that was who she was. She was genuinely outwardly caring. We also remember Jack as another bright light that graced our presence. He too was intelligent, noticeably more so than those around him, as his list of publications attests to. And he had the most fluent ability for disarming kindness of anyone I had ever met. There are a multitude of people sitting in front of me today and former patients all over Providence who could each tell a story of how Jack touched their lives, how he listened, how he cared, how he made them feel at ease. I first met him at a social get-together after one of our exams in first year. He was beaming at me from across the room, and he seemed to be dancing, but there really wasn't any music playing. I could not understand why he was smiling at me. I approached him, and as it turns out, he was smiling because we had not yet met. He was genuinely that excited to meet a stranger. And so, to all here and watching today, who've experienced the pain of of losing Aisling, Jack, or someone else close to you. I cannot profess to have any special knowledge on the early loss of a loved one. However, I do look at grief as a winding trail that one must walk. The trail contains burdensome climbs, weighed down by sorrow for those lost, yet upon reaching soaring passes, it gives way to wildflowers and the sweet memories of those we are privileged to love. The path is non-linear, and it is unpredictable. It is impossible to know what each day on the trail will look like. However, one never walks that trail alone. While we cannot truly know one another's grief, we can and will walk beside one another as we summon the will for a steep ascent or rejoice in a pleasant pasture of cherished remembrance. You are not alone, and we are not alone. From my vantage, I see an entire family, a wild, funny, brilliant, dysfunctional family who are linked inextricably together on this journey. And so now that we are here, facing the realities of being physicians, facing the joys and privileges and heavy burdens that come with this life of purpose, it is suitable to ask, where do we go from here? Let this serve as a call to action. Whatever our interests and passions may be, harnessing their pull over us will allow us to keep the artistry alive in our work and to serve the human condition in its complete form. Every one of us here has already conducted research or made their mark on the field of medicine. There are those amongst us who created an app to assess for Parkinsonian symptoms, those who evaluated cellular components of patients undergoing cardiothoracic surgery. Some created a self-isolation hotel for people experiencing housing insecurity during the pandemic. Some conducted research on opioid use and medical malpractice. Students created a digital resource hub for patients with multiple sclerosis. They evaluated Tibetan medical education and indications for how to implement those practices in the West. Thanks to student outreach and research, pastors in Brazil are now using their pulpit to encourage HIV testing amongst their congregants. Some in our class advanced in understanding of child trafficking, gun violence, and housing insecure respite care. We helped identify pitfalls in historical race-based medicine and worked to advance a curriculum always supported by evidence. We also served our community, playing key roles in community clinics like Clinica Esperanza, and participated in outreach and social justice campaigns. We were integral, and we will remain integral. We must make it our drive to nurture these passions, to keep them rooted in the fire and spirit from which they came within us. This past year has been difficult. It has brought pain in quantities and qualities immeasurable. It has laid bare realities in policing and unequal justice already too well known to communities of color across our country. We've also been confronted by shamefully gaping medical disparities exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. COVID-19 has been described as the great equalizer. And while individual pain experienced across diverse communities can certainly feel similar, there's nothing equal about the distribution of cases and deaths. Communities of color, as a result of racist societal and governmental structures, have shouldered a greater burden in contracting COVID-19 and have had fewer options in terms of treatment. Moreover, we bore witness to how the color of one's skin or any other characteristic used by power structures to marginalize individual communities can affect the medical care they receive. In response to these affronts, both viral and societal, members of our class led white coats for Black Lives protests at the Capitol, across Providence and beyond. We took on advocacy work for underrepresented communities in Providence and beyond. We called our congresspersons and senators. We registered people to vote. We used our privileged position as medical students for good in the hopes of transforming our community into a better place to live and be heard. During the pandemic, we worked with the Rhode Island Department of Health on contact tracing. We spearheaded coordination with the Rhode Island National Guard. We established networks to assist first responders in their lives that they had to abandon outside the hospital. But also remember that we've accomplished a great deal, not just in the past year, but in our entire time here. I hope that we reflect earnestly on these feats and see the art we created around us, for that is what will guide us. We must also recognize our collective power as a diverse group of caring souls. Regardless of our skin color, or gender identity, or sexual orientation, or ethnicity, or physical ability, or neurodiversity, and all intersections thereof, let us be true allies to each other's cause. It will be not just our job, but our very charge to live those words and to attack any structure that represses the humanity of others. We are armed with probing minds, trained in seeking truth through noise. Let us not forget that our greatest asset to the causes we care about is our ability to find objectivity in our deepest felt emotions and to train that on ushering in change. Language matters, but we must also not confuse big words with meaningful progress, as our work is never done once the conversation is started. And the same skepticism we give, for example, to antiquated medical assumptions should be applied from time to time to our own beliefs as they age. We must challenge our own heuristics, especially when they are informed by our closest held values. To never turn our analytical lens inward would be nothing short of negligent. We must engage with uncomfortable facts when they emerge and compose our advocacy and our solutions with the best available evidence. We should always be challenging ourselves to prove what we believe to be true because our ability to enact change in the arenas we care about depends on it. We may not always agree on how to achieve the goals of a more perfect, more just, more kind-hearted society. Yet I hold on to the belief that we are at least arguing from a shared idealism, a shared ambition, and a deep desire to see the best for everyone and each other's respectful intersectional communities. However, we are human and we are prone to insecurity. As my final message to you all, and yes, my final message, know this: when we doubt ourselves in the face of all of our accomplishments, we are imposters only to our own greatness. We must be confident in what we know, yet humble enough to accept what we do not. And beyond that acceptance, we must thirst to learn more, to seek out and cradle nuance, to be better, to do better. There is art of unparalleled beauty in there, but only if we devote ourselves to achieving it. In this vein, the Socratic paradox comes to mind, because it's Greek, like me. Enida oti, udenida. I know that I know nothing. In essence, I neither know nor think that I know. Perhaps that is the highest form of knowledge. If we forget that we are always incomplete vessels for truth, then we will fool ourselves into a false sense of wisdom. For stagnation awaits us later in our careers when we feel our capacity for knowledge is exhausted, but in reality, it is our capacity for artistry that is drained. It is this ebb in the current, this very complacency that saps our abilities as true scholars of the human condition. And if we are truly always learning, let us retain hope to be proven wrong by a younger, more thoughtful, more diverse generation of physicians. When the time comes, let us clear the way and open the gates to their ideas. We will never have all the answers, but we can always have the clear eyes to seek them out. In our careers, may they be long and fruitful, we will be wrong. We will undoubtedly practice medicine that will change as we continue to push the envelope of understanding in our fields. Our humility will carry us through. And when our generation is judged by our practices and our medical theories, I only hope that we can assuredly say that we tried our best, we were confident, we advocated for our patients to the best of our understanding, and when we were wrong, we changed. So if there was a message that I would give to future physicians being born today, it would be to judge us. When it is their turn to join this privileged calling, they ought to judge our record, to judge our progress, and judge our inertia to change. While today we are the new generation of physicians, we will inevitably become the old guard. May we take with us our scholarship, our capacity for improvement, and yes, our innate spark of artistry that transforms our work into an exalted cause. Medicine has a habit of becoming a job. Our approach will keep it a mission. Thank you.
Graduates, please stand. It is traditional that those about to enter the profession of medicine take an oath before their peers, their faculty, and their families, pledging themselves to certain ethical principles of commitment and professional behavior. This particular oath was written by the MD class of 1975 and has been used by each succeeding class. Please repeat after me. Now being admitted to the high calling of the physician, I solemnly pledge to dedicate my life to the care of the sick, the promotion of health, and the service of humanity. In the spirit of those who have inspired and taught me, I will seek constantly to grow in knowledge, understanding, and skill, and will work with my colleagues to promote all that is worthy in the ancient and honorable profession of medicine. The health and dignity of my patient will ever be my first concern. I will hold in confidence all that my patient relates to me. I will not permit consideration of race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, nationality, or social standing to come between me and my duty to anyone in need of my services. This pledge I make freely and upon my honor. Please be seated. It is my pleasure to next formally introduce President Christina Paxson, Brown University's 19th president. President Paxson is a graduate of Swarthmore College, and she earned her graduate degree, a PhD in economics from Columbia University. Prior to her appointment at Brown, Dr. Paxson was the dean of the Woodrow Wilson School of International and Public Affairs and the Hughes Rogers Professor of Economics and Public Affairs at Princeton University. While at Princeton, Paxson founded the Center for Health and Well-Being, an interdisciplinary research center in the Woodrow Wilson School, for which she served as director till 2009. In 2012, President Paxson became the 19th president of Brown University. Since her arrival at Brown, she has accomplished a remarkable number of noteworthy initiatives, including launching of Building on Distinction, a new plan for Brown's strategic vision for the future. She's also launched the $3 billion Brown Together comprehensive campaign and developed and implemented Brown's comprehensive Pathways to Diversity and Inclusion Action Plan. I can also say that President Paxson has been a wonderfully supportive president for the medical school and our affiliated hospital partners during my entire time here in Providence. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Christina H. Paxson, Brown University's 19th president.
Good morning. It's really great to see all of you. You are about to get your degrees. They're coming, believe it. I'm going to say the magic Latin words and you will become doctors. But first, I get to say a few words. And so I just ask for your patience for a few more minutes. It was mentioned earlier that normally I don't get to speak at the ceremony for medical students. This is the first time. Usually the ceremonies for medical graduate and undergraduate students happen simultaneously, and by tradition, I speak to the undergraduates. So I really do welcome the opportunity to talk with you in this most unusual of years. I want to start by recognizing what we all know, which is that this has been a very hard 14 months, especially for medical students. The pandemic has complicated your clinical rotations, required you to be as flexible as possible as you completed your degrees. And even more, you've been at the epicenter of the worst epidemic in over a century, a pandemic, one that is still playing out in this country and countries around the globe. And I know we're all thinking about what's happening right now in India and in Brazil and in other countries in South America. Cutting through all of this was the profound grief of racism and social injustice. The murders of George Floyd and others, the terrible increase in racism and violence against Asians and Asian Americans, and political upheaval that demanded your attention and may have made it difficult at times for you to focus on your work. But through all this, I have to say you have been extraordinary. I'm so impressed by how you've navigated the past 14 months. You continued to learn, you supported your friends, you helped Rhode Island communities, you advocated for what you needed, you stood up for equity and justice, and everybody at this university is so proud of your accomplishments. Now, before the conferral of your degrees, I want to just share a few thoughts with you about a lesson from the pandemic that applies to many other situations in healthcare that I think you'll probably see throughout your careers. And it's really this, it's simple. Throughout history, advances in medical science and new treatments for diseases most often, at least initially, have favored the privileged. We saw this in the HIV epidemic. In the 1980s, as information became available about how to prevent HIV, and then later as effective treatments started to emerge, all great things, racial and economic gaps in HIV-related mortality widened. People who had the education to access information and the wealth to take advantage of new treatments have better outcomes. And although HIV infections and mortality have declined considerably in the US and globally, it still remains a disease of people who live at the margins of society. We saw this with cancer mortality as well. Before 1990, around the time that cancer mortality really started to decline quickly in the US, people in this country from lower income groups were actually less likely to die of cancer than wealthier people. But just when mortality started to decline rapidly in the 1990s, we saw a reversal of the income gradient in mortality so that poorer people became more likely to die of cancer than wealthier people. The gradient in cancer flipped. It's hard to pinpoint exactly one reason for this. There are probably multiple factors at play, but it seems likely that once again, higher income people had greater access to the knowledge needed to avoid getting cancer and the screening and treatments needed to survive if they did. And while the story of COVID-19 is too recent to be written, I think we'll see exactly the same thing when we get to the end of this pandemic. We'll find that last spring, when we had little knowledge of how to prevent or treat the virus, it was probably much more of an equal opportunity illness than it's become today. Over the past year, the burden has followed disproportionately on people of color and those who are poor. So there's a broader lesson here. I mean, this pandemic has rightfully caused many more people to recognize that we have to focus on eradicating inequities. And the goal, however, can't be an afterthought. It has to be central to the work that all of us do, whether we work in education, in business, in technology, or in the public sector. And I think it's especially true in medicine. Yes, I mean, medical researchers should press forward with developing treatments and cures for diseases. That's so important. And yes, our medical doctors and health professionals should strive to give the best possible treatment to every individual patient they encounter. And I know all of you are going to do those things. But I urge you, as you enter the profession of medicine, to constantly ask yourself, who's missing? Who's missing? Who isn't receiving the newest treatments? Who doesn't have access to health information? Who isn't in my waiting room? Who isn't benefiting from my services? And who isn't my colleague? Who's missing from the profession of medicine? Don't ask yourself these questions just once in a while. Make it a habit of mind. Do it all the time. And ask these questions of the people you work with. Talking about equity can sometimes take courage, a lot of courage. But if you do, you'll have the potential to amplify the impact that you have in the world. So that's enough of a lecture from me. This is a day to reflect on the responsibilities ahead of you, but it's also a day of great joy to celebrate your incredible accomplishments that have led you to become graduates of the great class of 2021 of Brown's Warren Alpert Medical School. And looking out at all of you today, even with your masks on, I hope all of you are smiling, I can see that you're more than ready to take on your next adventures. I hope you leave this place knowing that we're proud of you, we love you, and we wish you long and happy lives of meaning and purpose. Congratulations, Warren Alpert Medical School, class of 2021.
Wonderful. Thank you, President Paxson. Moment of truth, everyone. We now turn to the conferral of master's degrees. Candidates for master's degrees, please stand up.
So I start this by asking, normally there are some members of the fellows of the corporation behind me, and I ask them permission to confer degrees because the fellows vote you your degrees formally. I think we have a representative fellow who may show up on the screen over here, just so you know what's going on. So qui honorandi, homines quota gradum magistri, idoneos comperimus vomis praesentimus, et eos ad hoc gradum promovere licea regamos. Honored colleagues, we present these people whom we have found fit for the master's degree, and we ask that we be permitted to advance them to this degree. Is he there? No. Okay. That's fine. I'm a fellow. I can do it without him. It's okay. It's okay. So, candidati a gradum magistri auscultabant. Candidates for the master's degree, please listen attentively. Auctoritati mihi commissa vos ad gradum magistri admitto, omniaqua jura ac privilegia ad hoc gradum pertinentia vobis concidu. By the authority vested in me, I confer upon you the master's degree, and I grant to you all rights and privileges pertaining to this degree. Congratulations.
Madam President, I have the honor to present the recipients of the degree of Master of Science in Population Medicine. Students, please line up. Iloho Akpovi. Natasha Furtado Delumba. Anna Della Merced. Scott Gummerson. Marcus Kareem. Konchevsky. Sarah Claire. Charlotte Lee. Vivian Lee. Jeremiah Lowe. Meghna Nandi. Tobias Nicholson. Olabade Amole. Pranati Panuganti. Christiana Prutznall. Alex Rosenthal. Catherine Sullivan. We will now turn to the conferral of medical degrees.
Before we begin with the conferral of degrees, I ask that you all join me in recognizing students Ashlyn Galligan and Jack Riddell, whose lives were tragically cut short. Both were distinguished and honored members of this university and will always live in our hearts. Do you want to ask them to rise?
Certainly.
That's okay.
All right, students, please stand.
Thank you. Candidati agratum doctoris medicinae auscultabunt. Candidates for the Doctor of Medicine, please listen attentively. Auctoritati mihi commissa vos agratum doctoris medicinae admitto omniaqua iura ac privilegia adhunc gradum pertinentia vobis concedo. By the authority vested in me, I confer upon you the Doctor of Medicine degree, and I grant to you all rights and privileges pertaining to this degree. Congratulations.
Students, please line up. Madam President, I have the honor to present the medical degree recipients. Shannon Adams. Jesus Aguirre. Eloho Akpovi. Kelsey Anderson. Loriano Andrade Vicenti. Dara Bakar. Sumitri Baruha. Julia Bassel. Kira Bromwich. Melanie Brown. Fiona Chen. Adrian Chim. Alice Chu. Anna Delamerced. Christopher Demas. Jordan Desatel. Cody Doberstein. Lindsay Dreisler. Jonathan Eckstein. Ryan Fallon. Sarah France. Allison Froelich. Natasha Furtado Delumba. Catherine Ganage. Catherine Garcia. Edgar Garcia Lopez. Timothy Genovese. Joanna Georgicus. Soha Ganian. Alyssa Gonzalez. Gustavo Gonzalez Jr. Scott Gummerson. Annabelle Guo. Amelia Gurley. Carrie Hampton. Laura Harrison. Sarah Hayes. Chi He. Esther Hinnebing. Danielle Hollenbeck Pringle. Katie Shaw. Lindsay Cahan. Sham Kankotia. Marcus Karim. Stevens Kelly. Hannah Kerman. Alec Kinchevsky. Sarah Claire. Nina Kavaretskalia. Ileana Laguna. Charlotte Lee. Erica Lee. Jacqueline Leong. Ruben Lesnick. Vivian Lee. Pip Lipkin. Jeremiah Lowe. Liliana Luna Nelson. Noah Lupica. Simon McCarthy. Patrick McGlone. Naman Mehta. Heron Manillo. John Milner. Sugi Min. Rose Montplaisir. Meghna Nandi. Matthew Neal. Tobias Nicholson. Olabade Amole. Gabriel Honor Jr. Constance Panton. Pranati Panuganti. John Peranzi. Nathan Perch. Scott Furman. Christiana Prutznow. Boyd Q. Rebecca Raymond Kolker. Lauren Reddy. Helena Regan Tuero. Karina Rivera. Cleo Rochat. Stefan Rodriguez. Alex Rosenthal. John Sanderson. Brandon Scott. Catherine Sullivan. Sydney Tan. Jason Siklis. Josie Valson. Harry Van Dusen. Erica Veazey. Oline Venegas. Amelia Warshaw. Michael Woods. Pamela Yan. Anthony Yao. Wenzheng Yu. Michael Zaski. Angela Zhang. Kevin Jong. Olivia Ziegler. Madam President, I wish to report the names of 16 students who have completed their degrees and have permission to receive their degrees in absentia. Ronald Akiki. Ariel Choi. Julia Festa. Serena Hare. William Kemp. Max Katai. Sean Lee. Randall Lee. Kylo Mohahi. Todd Wen. Samantha Lee Obiora. Monica Sakar. Goveen Shantaram. Jaewon Yang. Ashling Galligan. Jack Rudell.
Good morning, everyone. The Warren Alpert Medical School, class of Brown University, class of 2021, presents the senior citation to Roxanne Vries, MD. We honor you today, Dean Vries, for your invaluable contributions to the MD 21 class as a leader, clinician, mentor, and friend. On the wards, you created a culture of positivity that enabled the entire team to do their best. You were calm and confident, always leading by example. In the classroom, you asked questions that challenged us. You encouraged us to develop our own clinical framework and taught with the patience and understanding of an educator who deeply understands the fears, worries, and challenges that come with this journey. And as our friend and mentor, you advocated for us, uplifted us, and emboldened us to be our brightest, truest selves, in spite of the hardships we faced along the way. With the deepest gratitude and admiration, the class of 2021 honors you for the role you have played in shaping our lives. Thank you for inspiring us, guiding us, and most importantly, for believing in us.
Thank you so much. I'm truly honored.
If you are able to, will you please stand up for the benediction? Let us pray. Most gracious and divine Creator, may this day mark the culmination and celebration of all the years of hard work, dedication, and long hours that these doctors have poured into their studies. We thank you for imparting the gift of healing into their hands and compassion in their hearts. May they hold these past 4 years of memories in their hearts as they continue on with their internships and their residencies, so they may become the best medical professions this world has ever seen. We thank you for the foundation that was given to them here at the Alpert Medical School, and the families and the friends that have supported them along the way. Now, Lord, continue to reveal their purpose in everything that they do and guide their footsteps throughout every aspect of their journey throughout life. Amen. You may be seated.
Loyal devotion and bring to thine altar our offerings of praise. Our hearts swell within us with joyful emotion as the name of Old Brown in loud chorus we raise. The happiest moments of youth's fleeting hours we've passed 'neath the shade of these time-honored walls, and sorrows as transient as April's brief showers